to another episode of Coffee with Coaches. I'm Scott Ellis, and I'm joined by Boston University softball assistant coach Becca Carden. Becca, how's it going?
It's going great. Can't complain. We have a 70-degree day in November. So for softball, that's pretty prime.
Yeah, we're talking on a Saturday right now. My first question, are you a coffee drinker?
I am. I am an avid coffee drinker. I got an espresso at the beginning of quarantine because I was worried I wasn't gonna have access. And it has pretty much saved my life. It's been the best purchase maybe in a long time. I thought an espresso was similar to Keurig, and I found out I was very wrong about that.
Right,
It's amazing.
right.
I recommend it every morning over ice.
And you mentioned that the weather's great today. I mean, a week or two ago, we had snow. And my first question for you, I mean, being from the Southwest, growing up in Oklahoma and playing at Arkansas, what's the adjustment been like for you living in New England?
It's been weather-wise, it's been okay. I grew up for a couple of years in New Mexico too, so I'm pretty used to the snow. The amount of snow has been the difference, and actually having to shovel my own driveway. So that's been an added adjustment, but it hasn't been too bad. The last couple of winters have been okay.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I'm from New Orleans, so I'd agree with you on that
Oh yeah,
assessment.
you come from nothing, no snow.
Right. But I mean, kind of going back, talking about the fall, I mean, overall, how's it been with the team and how have the players been handling all the challenges presented by the pandemic?
Actually, it's been pretty amazing. We're really thankful for to BU that set up the processes that they have set up and given us this opportunity. Softball in general is a sport where you have to kind of be ready for anything just because of weather, and at the drop of the hat, you have to be ready to go. So I think they've been kind of ready, and for whatever we've thrown at them, for whatever the pandemic has been throwing at them this semester, even our week off, they took it in stride and we just started right back up, and it wasn't really a problem. We we did our best not to acclimate them a little bit as they come in, because it was 6 months off, so we didn't hit the ground running too fast. We were looking to kind of hit more quantity reps and make sure that they actually had their feet under them before we started to hit the harder stuff. So they've actually been amazing, and we're just trying to take advantage of every second that we get with them. And I feel like they're kind of approaching the situation the same, because we're going to go home, and who knows when we'll come back, and who knows when the season will be. And so they just kind of have entered that mindset of just like, when we need to be ready to go, we're going to be ready to go.
Right. And you were kind of mentioning reps starting off slow and then getting more into it. Has there been a specific strategy you and the coaching staff have been taking with the team, or just kind of going over everything?
I think in the beginning it's been a focus more on just making sure that they're in softball shape, and we've taken a very gradual approach with that. We've had a little bit more of a focus on our strength and conditioning aspect, so we've been making sure that they have been in their strength and conditioning, and then adjusting our softball accordingly. So if they need to do a little more up there, we can adjust on the field a little bit more. But now in the last 2 weeks of October and this week, we've been focusing in on a little bit more specific things and working more technique, and breaking things down a little bit more. Whereas in the beginning, we were focused on just like letting them see the ball in the air and being outside and being together.
Right. And speaking of being together, it hasn't been all work. Y'all recently had some fun with a home run derby fundraiser. What was that experience like for the team?
It was awesome. It was so much fun. We might have lost a couple of softballs along the way, but that's okay. But just, seeing them and seeing them just actually, it might have been like the first time that they got to do something that was semi together, that they were all participating in. And, they just, it looked like they were having a blast. We were having a blast commentating it a little bit. And I don't know, just having them come together for, bringing alumni in and getting to talk to them while we're hitting. It was just a fun experience, and kind of a way to feel like, all right, we have some fans here, but they're not really here. And, they're supporting the team, because they're missing out on it just as much as the team has been. So it was kind of a cool experience to kind of have, the fans and the team together, and, just be competing in something, I guess.
Right, and something we didn't talk about, but just to clarify for our viewers, the softball team has been split up into groups by position. And speaking of that, I mean, how has that adjustment been like?
It's been good. It's been semi-challenging, but it's actually been good to, you get a little more creative. I get a lot of time with the outfield, and I get to see everyone, but not in the coaching way, you know what I mean? So
All right,
it's been fun to actually, at least for me, break down stuff with the outfield and see them every day. And we've got a good group of girls, so you don't really get tired of them.
right.
You're happy to see them every day.
And then talking about getting alumni involved, we also recently had the Terriers Together campaign. And how much does the support from the alums and families and the fans mean to the program recently through the Home Run Derby fundraiser and the Terriers Together campaign?
It's unbelievable. The amount of support that we get from our alumni and our fans is unmatched. We kind of pride ourselves on being a program that lets the family in. When we're on the road, we're letting them know what hotels we're staying at. We're letting them know what restaurants we're going to. We want them to feel a part of it. And so the fact that they show up on days like that, it's amazing, and we can never be thankful enough.
Right. And kind of going back into your life, I mean, did you play any other sports growing up besides softball?
Yeah, actually, I grew up playing three sports consistently: softball, basketball, and soccer. I had a twin sister that we were always on the same teams, tearing, whether it was town or club or whatever. I always knew I had at least one good teammate that we were going to be tearing through with. But yeah, so we grew up, and you never want to be sitting on the couch during the summer or a spring or fall. So we always picked a sport and always had something going on.
And how did you focus on softball?
That's just kind of how it worked out, I guess, which is a weird thing to say, but I love softball. I love basketball. I love soccer. So I actually ended up with a D3 scholarship to University of Dallas for basketball. And since it was D3, I decided, okay, I'll see if I can play soccer before, just to be in shape. And I ended up playing soccer, but not playing basketball, and then transferring to Arkansas and deciding to try and walk on for the softball team. So I thought that was my best shot, and I knew I was probably the best at softball, but I went for it and it worked out.
No, for sure. And
Yeah.
then how did you make that transition to coaching?
So I originally came up here for a strength and conditioning scholarship, or not scholarship, internship at Mike Boyle's, and Ashley Waters, the head coach, she had gotten the job at Harvard, and they needed a volunteer, and I had some free time, so I ended up volunteering for them and realizing that being in like a team sport atmosphere is I miss that, and I wanted to be around that a little bit more. I love strength and conditioning, but I think I like being around and consistent with the team and seeing the same people every day and working with the softball side of things. And I think that was a great way that just that volunteer semester that I had at Harvard kind of showed me that.
Right. And you mentioned that Coach Waters is the one that kind of brought you into Harvard, and y'all are going into your sixth season together at BU. What's that coaching dynamic been like all these years? And do y'all still kind of surprise each other at times?
We've realized that we think about things completely opposite, which is a good thing and a bad thing at times, but it keeps it interesting. I do a lot of the like clerical work and organizing and stuff, and I'm pretty good at that. So as long as I can keep everything organized and flowing, we're in a good situation. And she gets to focus on practice and what we're doing that day. So, or what we're doing on the road or whatever. So we've figured it out in our 6 years together. We usually don't have to discuss a lot, at least off the softball field. We keep it flowing pretty easily.
Right. And then, I mean, having played in the SEC and traveled the country as both a player and coach, I mean, what do you see as the main reasons BU has had so much success in softball over the past couple of decades?
It's the kids. It's that high academic drive that they bring onto the softball field. I think the fact that Boston University is such a rigorous um, university that you can't come here and not be able to thrive academically. And if you're able to thrive academically at BU, then you're obviously going to have the drive and the determination to succeed on the softball field. softball's not an easy sport for your morale. It's gonna try and tear you down, practice by practice, pitch by pitch. And so the fact you have to have that tenacity and that drive, and I think that's just built into a BU student athlete.
Right. And then y'all have won 3 out of the last 4 Patriot League titles. Currently, the 2-time defending champs. The program was off to its best start ever this past year, before the season was halted. Is it going to be challenging once the new season begins to keep that momentum going? Is it like a fresh start, or do you think the team is still carrying all that momentum from the past few years?
I mean, you hope that they are, and we do have a majority of the team that has won a championship or 2 or 3. We have our senior class is riding on 2 right now, so they're hoping to finish strong. But we do have a lot of new faces, so, and people that haven't even played a fall game. So it's kind of a funny sport where you don't really get to see what you can bring to the table until game 1, and it has to be put into action. You can play each other all day, but once you get outside competition, new pitching, you know what I mean? It's a completely different game. So, hopefully we get a couple games to get rolling before we hit Patriot League, but who knows? And if we don't, we'll do our best to be ready. And I think our kids kind of just mimic that mindset where it's like, all right, we got to show up. We got to give it the best we have.
Right. And then continuing to build on the foundation. What do y'all look for in recruits?
Obviously they have to be good at softball, but beyond that, these are people that we have to spend literally our entire jobs with. So they have to be good people. Their families have to be good people. I think that's one of the biggest things we look for in our conversations with them is just, are you going to be a good teammate? Do you care who gets the glory in the game? Because most of the time it's the pitcher or whoever gets the big hit. There's usually not a lot of glory spread out in the sport of softball. So you have to be okay with somebody else doing the job and you kind of having that thankless role. Because if you can't do that, then you're probably not going to be a good teammate, and that can tear a team down faster than anything. So we want to make sure, and our teams have been amazing with that. They're the biggest supporters of each other. And I think that's one of our main keys to success is they don't care who does it. They just want to get it done. And I think that's the kind of the culture that we try to look for when we're looking for recruits.
Right.
Obviously softball, they have to be able to play first.
Right. And we were talking you were talking a little earlier about coaching the outfielders, and certainly I've seen a lot of different playing styles, I feel like in the outfield. I mean, for you as a coach, what do you work with on outfielders? I mean, what makes a good outfielder?
Being able to make your initial read and being able to have a lot of range. So if you can cover a lot of ground, if you can take away hits, you're going to be considered a high level outfielder. And I think we've had that in the last couple of years with like the Jaleel Shanda and the Emma Wong and the AJ. I think sometimes it takes a couple of years to grow that range, but I think our outfields in the past have been very good, and I'm not going to take full credit for that. I'm just going to say these kids work so hard, and between their freshman year and their senior year, there's so much growth, which they never stop working. And Jaleel, from the first day we got there to the last day we got there was amazing. It was incredible to see her take away hits. You're like, oh, that's down. Nope. Jaleel's just standing under it. So if you can have range and you can read a ball, you're going to be a good outfielder.
Right. And then finally, I mean, outside of softball and coaching, I mean, what other hobbies do you have?
As I mentioned before, I'm a certified strength and conditioning coach. So I like to dive into the strength and conditioning world a little bit. I listen to a lot of podcasts, been into politics a little more than I ever have been. So I'm listening to a lot of podcasts. We started a social injustice group on our team that I've been trying to take the lead of, and we've been meeting every other week. So that's another thing I'm focused on. Yeah. And bean and pickles, obviously.
Right.
Hanging out with bean and pickles.
Right. And I mean, you talked about the social justice. I mean, how has that experience been going with the team?
It's been awesome. The kids just care so much, and it's hard to kind of figure out what to do exactly. But the fact that they feel like they want to do something, and you know what I mean? I feel like no matter what we do, they feel like it's never enough. So we're just going to keep chugging away and keep working at it and keep meeting every other week and see what we can do.
Right. Well, thank you so much for joining me, Becca. Enjoy the rest of this weather while we still can.
Absolutely. Thanks, Scott. Thanks for everything you do for our program.
Yeah.